Good afternoon, dear friends, and welcome to our popular IoT webinar, where we discuss trends, technologies, and projects in the field of Internet of Things. I'm Alan. This is my friend and colleague Pavel.
Hi, everyone.
Our CTO, and welcome our dear guest, Peter Blabla, from our sister company called Adastra Lab.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
He will introduce himself and his company a little bit later. Pavel, today's topic is...
We are about to talk about Internet of Things in the retail industry.
And I believe that you will have plenty of questions which are tied with this area. So don't hesitate, use our chat, and we will have plenty of time in the end of our webinar to answer all your questions. So retail, right?
Yep.
IoT in retail. But how it started, do you remember?
Yeah, well, you know the story better than I do, but as far as I remember, there was a call from your colleague, Adelka, and she came with the idea that she has some challenge for us, and we were asked whether we can solve it.
It was like a Thursday night, and the challenge was, I need some offer of IoT devices for retail. We have to monitor shelves and weight, and it has to be delivered on Monday or something like this. So typical challenge.
And you are the only guys who can help.
Yeah, I said, okay, so we will try. And yes, it was 2 years ago. And today we have a very successful cooperation with Adastra, digital agency. And what we did, we founded a new company called Adastra Lab. And you, Peter, you are CEO of this company. So now it's time to describe yourself and your background, because my background in retail is that when I was 20, I was this sales guy. I was selling shampoos and some cosmetics. But what about you? What's your background? And
My background goes all the way back to market research company when I used to work when I left the university, and I was working for a market research company in London. And it was a lot about retail and data coming from the retail, so I'm almost coming back to it. In between, I spent 13 years in iLevel, which was a global in-store marketing agency helping global market leaders in the industries, fashion, electronics, cosmetics, within global rollouts of the retail solutions and campaigns supporting individual products. And actually, my kind of first touch with this project or the whole IoT world was with Pavel Kysela, the CEO of Adastra, when we were in touch about 2 years ago when he was sharing these innovative ideas with me, and we were actually brainstorming together what the potential of solutions like a smart scale and smart shelf could be in retail. And when I was leaving iLevel, it just coincidentally happened that we got together again, and at that time we already started shaping our joint venture and start collaborating on, let's say, converting the ideas into real products, which we are about to talk about today.
Oh yeah, joint venture and synergies, because we can call ourselves as experts in this field of IoT. We are using IoT technologies in the industry, in agriculture, forestry. Adastra, as the whole agency, you are experts in digitization and digitalization of many areas, not only retail, but financial areas, banking and these kind of things. And you, as a person with a perfect background, and you travel all around the world, and you met many brands and world leaders in this area. So
you were compatible.
Yeah. We felt it has to be juicy cooperation, and definitely it is. So that's great. So now let's talk about IoT in retail, the way that we will describe the areas, what we can do, with IoT in retail. Let's start with monitoring the conditions, indoor air quality, or this environment itself, because we have
We have plethora projects in this field.
Plenty of projects experience. So what we can do with our platforms, Chester, Cooper, we can monitor carbon dioxide, we can monitor, of course, temperature, humidity,
motion, and etc.
Many things. So this is definitely, this is something what we can do together in IoT. But there is another area which is very attractive, and it's marketing, and sales and marketing, and we can do many things, right?
That's where I see the biggest advantage of combining this, let's say, physical expertise of these IoT hardware solutions together with the data side. Because again, if you cannot convert the data into a real insight, it will end up as another report somewhere where nobody would read it. So that's where I feel the strength of our joint venture comes in, where we get the data, then we are able to manage the data securely, analyze them, integrate them with any other sources. As always, there are some additional sources in internal systems of our clients. And then again, some AI, artificial intelligence, how do we make the data more clever, future-looking, and also how do we present the data. So again, they provide the timely insight for the decision makers to make the database decisions. So that's where I see the synergies you were talking about. And from the marketing perspective, yes, it's, I mean, we all experienced COVID in all shape and forms. I think in our personal lives, we went much more into offline. We had to interact in a different way than we ever did, with no option to escape. On the other hand, the work life, I would say, became much more digital. And the same is kind of happening in retail, where the omni-channel is happening more, where we see the circulation of goods accelerating. Our expectations for the service provided through this omni-channel solution is growing as well. And the customer behavior is changing. And all the IoT solutions, from my perspective, can watch the whole, let's say, supply chain all the way from the products, what's happening with the product across the whole journey, all the way to the customer and their behavior. And if we can collect the data from the whole supply chain, we can, again, make database decisions. Yep. So that's where I see the opportunity also for retail, for marketing, for all the, let's say, different departments across the brands.
And often we talk about collecting data from multiple sources to get some meaningful information.
What about players in this area? Of course, we can talk about shops or retails that they can gather data and it can be useful for them. But there are other players in this field, right? We can supply and we can help somehow.
Brands, for sure, they're really keen to understand what the customer behavior, which we just talked about. So how do they behave? What are the new trends? Those who will identify those new trends and actually change the strategies based on that. And we know about all the trends happening recently with COVID, but also the new generation, different behavior of Generation Z and millennials, and all of these things. And IoT can actually provide an inside data that were not on the market before. So that's for sure for the brands who want to build a relationship with the customers. For the retail chains, it's about return of investment, about their investments within the infrastructures, where the products actually sell, which campaign works, which product mix is the right one for a specific, retail format or geography or specific customer group. And the logistics who needs to comply with these increasing expectations of the customers. So across the whole chain, from my perspective, is where we can bring added value.
Our webinars are mostly technology-based, so we have to describe what technology we are using in retail, in IoT and retail. Of course, we have our platforms, as I mentioned, Chester, Cooper, monitoring this environment and indoor air quality. But we have our escalation buttons too. And now we have more and more projects with our Chester Motion. What we are doing with Chester Motion?
This is the type of configuration that can basically detect the presence of people and get some meaningful statistical data. It could be also nicely utilized in this retail industry because you want to know in which spots, how often, and at which times the customers are moving the most. So you can optimize maybe the placement of some goods. And
you can create these heat maps, in this point. So that's great. But we have two special products, two special technologies we want to present and share this innovation with you.
And moreover, we are presenting something that is already real, that is deployed in the field. This is why it's cool.
So it's a smart scale and smart shelf or smartphone. So Peter, it's up to you. A little bit describe, how we are using these products in retail.
We already talked about it. I think it comes back again to products and customers and the interaction in physical environment, which is what those two products are about. Let's say start with the smart scales. We have two types. We have this type of smart scale for POS displays, which is 40 centimeters by 60 centimeters, which is, let's say, the market standards where most of the POS displays presenting some campaigner products are deployed on the market. And because it's battery run, because it's low power, because it's wireless, we can shift around the store and really monitor how people interact in real time, which is, of course, the notifications about if it is merchandised enough, if product's missing, if you're running low, how to restock, and also, of course, how people interact and buy from different locations within the stores. Because it is non-invasive, we can shift it around the store and monitor which campaign works, which product works, which pricing strategy works during the time of the day, how do we plan shifts or restocking so we do not miss on any sales in a store. And the shelf is even adding a different angle where we can even see in the actual space of the shelf, almost like a heat map of the products and sales. So which products from which area is selling, and again cross-check it with any sales data, with campaign data, with product data, and again it's battery run. So we are trying to be flexible so we can fit the standard types of standard shelving systems in the stores. And also battery run, so we don't need to necessarily plug to in any electricity or connectivity. So again, the non-invasiveness is providing us with the flexibility to apply on existing solutions without further, I would say, infrastructure investments, and get the critical data that you can again integrate in the back end and provide the right insight. But I would say the technical part I would leave to Pavel to describe.
Thanks, you have wrapped it up very nicely. I will just tell that everybody knows weight scales, yes? And this weight scale, as you know, it has its display and tells you how heavy you are. How do we turn it smart? We chop off the display and we connect the unit like this Chester, which is equipped with special interface that can measure this so-called load scale, or in literature referred to as strain gauge. And what is this strain gauge? It's an element, the sensor element of every weight scale. And it comes in various ranges and sizes. It can measure from grams to tons or even more. And specifically this weight scale we have on the table, it is able to measure up to 400 kilograms, something like that. And important is what resolution do you want to achieve when measuring on this scale. And we are using very precise electronics for that, and we are able to differentiate 200, 300 grams in this 400 kilograms span. Possibly you could achieve even more if you do more averaging and some math on top of that. But basically we have matched the goal. We were able to differentiate if some goods was added or removed, and this resolution for our use case, for our project, was good enough.
The accuracy of an individual product basically being sold in real time to differentiate.
So we are sampling this strain gauge every minute. We are buffering the samples, and when we have full 1 hour of samples, we transmit data to cloud. First to HARDWARIO cloud, because it's Narrowband IoT. We are using this Vodafone network, and then from HARDWARIO cloud, data travel to Adastra platform, where you do this useful, meaningful processing and provide some good insights which are valuable to customers. Maybe worth saying that despite we are talking about weight scale, from the device itself, we are not sending the number of kilograms. We are sending the raw data from this A to D converter, this precision chip, which is interfacing strain gauge. And this raw data is then matched in your platform together with the calibration offsets. And And then through interpolation method, the real weight is calculated. So it was quite a process because it's not only about the hardware, about the firmware and just the data transfers. There is this process called provisioning, and we are cooperating with a very famous Czech company, Lesák. They are well known for all kinds of weight scales, and they can even customize, and they have customized one weight scale for us. And with this partner, we have actually created this provisioning process that can create these calibration data to your platform, and then we are able to make these calculations. So this is the way how Chester operates, just basically a simple terminal for the strain gauge, and all these computations are happening in Adastra platform.
So what we have right now is this, as you said, POS weight scale or stand weight scale, but we have one more, which is for pallets.
I forgot to mention it actually, and that one is, as we said, the resolution trying to aim for 300 grams, so again almost to the level of individual product. Again, but it's made for Euro pallets, so the advantage is the same. You can again shift around the store, but it's more for bigger scale loads of maybe usually 6 packs of products or larger, let's say merchandising of product packs to measure again in real time the sales of those data.
Yeah. Both of them battery operated. They can last like years. Okay. We have a special battery pack inside, and equipped with Narrowband IoT, and very soon with LTM.
Yeah, maybe worth mentioning with Narrowband IoT that this technology actually played a very important role in this project, because the weight scale is on the floor, and you put goods on it, and there is always problem and this challenge with antennas, and you are putting gallons of waters on top of it, and we have been observing really some significant changes in the signal quality, but still in the places where there was no GSM LTE, our smart weight scales were still happily transferring data. So this is where these attributes of this technology really pay off.
It's the scalability that we aim for again, so you can produce in bulk, but being able to redistribute and just select the connectivity according to the specific region or a country to be able to cover the span.
Absolutely.
That's great. So this is the first one, this innovation, but let's talk about second one.
I think it's again like I described.
All right.
Yeah, because
okay.
Maybe you can show it to
oh yeah, of course I can.
Friends, like how it is. It is smart foil.
So in the first part, we were determining how much goods are actually in some specific place, but we were facing a challenge that we wanted to know how is the goods distributed on a horizontal plane, if you like, or on a shelf. And this is why we call this smart shelf product. And this allows to monitor individual positions. So imagine that you have goods, some cans or whatever, and you want to multiply every single of them. So for that purpose, we have used this new technology, this exciting technology, the so-called printed electronics, and we are cooperating with our Czech university on this project. And they helped a lot because traditionally we would have to use like multiple load cells, the similar technology, but in small form factor, or we would implement some mechanical tactile switches, buttons whatsoever, but that would be expensive. And we met these guys which have been working for years on this printable electronics, and this was the opportunity how to connect this research from academia with this real-life project. So we have created this customized matrix of printed switches. You can imagine there is a PET foil, it's like a substrate onto which you are printing conductive traces. And they are connected in a matrix, and we are detecting pushes of each individual position. Because we are targeting almost 200 positions on the most dense configuration of the smart shell, because we have like various sizes and various number of positions we need to detect in our project, we needed to somehow detect all these positions and gather them to a single unit, because typically there is a fridge or something into which these smart shelves are installed, and there could be multiple of them, like 5 or 6. And you want to collect all the data from all these shelves to a single point, to Chester, and transfer them to cloud. So you cannot connect thousands of wires to Chester, yeah? It would be mechanically impossible. So we have created this so-called encoder, and its role is to like multiplex the data and serialize them, because what we want to do is to have only single wire connected to all these shelves, and there is this bus system we have developed, this smart retail protocol we call it, which can scan all these encoders, and there could be like tens of them connected on a single bus. And these encoders are low power. It's a neat thing, and these can gather data from thousands of individual sensors from all these positions of all the goods that are in the fridge, and these data are again buffered and in regular intervals transmitted to via HARDWARIO cloud first, and then to Adastra platform. So this was quite challenging, quite time-consuming development process we have been through, but now the project has been running for some months, and this technology is proven. We also had some difficulties with the sensor pad itself. It was quite some development effort, but it proved that this printable electronics is like the nice way to really install and equip the existing and retrofit the existing fridges, and make the whole installation non-invasive. So that was one of the goals, that we will not change physically the configuration of the fridge much, but will still achieve the goal and be able to make it smart.
So it's a quite nice piece of hardware, and as always we know that hardware is hard, right?
And it was double down in this project.
Yeah, great. Peter, the future is bright, as always. So we have beautiful products for retail with some innovation. But I think it's not just about the hardware. Your solution is an end-to-end solution, right?
It's the aim.
It's the aim. So what's exactly the offer of Adastra?
No, I mean, I would again say we are here trying to offer the end-to-end solutions, which from my perspective, it is about personification. I mean, the use cases on the market, as you saw on these type of solutions, could be endless. I mean, we can monitor campaign successes, product mix, categories, pricing campaign, whatever you're doing on the market. And we can monitor in real time, send notifications so we do not miss on any sales, but also analyze to bring efficiencies, save cost, increase sales, return of investment, all those areas. So from my perspective, it is about finding the right partners who could see an added value and who also could see that IoT is much more tangible part of the digitalization, being a cliche word out there, and nobody really knows what it exactly means, and talk about how could we tailor these solutions and maybe the data which comes out of it to their needs, and provide the real insight which will make their daily decisions easier and more informed. So
speaking of decisions, actually, like it was not mentioned, but the key goal of this smart shelf project is to actually optimize the placement of the goods, because you might have a mix of the goods of different brands or something, and these retailers, what they need is to increase the efficiency. So they may adjust the distribution of the various brands and generate a better yield from direct sales to the customers. You can maybe comment more on it, but that's basically the idea behind why do we want to not to only measure the weight and how much good is there, but where it's each individual type of goods positioned.
Yeah, I think the feedback we are actually getting from the deployment which is currently on the market is exactly in line with that, where the clients can see how individual and different products are being sold from the shelves. And you were describing quite nicely, if you have a set of 5 shelves from the bottom all the way up, you can see if really the eye level is the point where everybody the sales really happens. If it happens more on the right-hand side, where's the sweet spot? Like, what is the heat map? Like, which type of products flying off the shelves? Which one actually stays there longer? And I could even, like you were talking about future, like connecting those systems with the actual electronic pricing on it. How would you connect it with back to the back of house and stock management, where you can send notifications about replenishments on time, which is again the overlap into logistics. So I could see that the future is endless with those type of solutions. I think it really is about the demand and the request on the market. So this meets at the same time, and also the willingness to test innovations in a way, because it is an innovation.
Exactly, innovation. Innovation always means opportunity, right?
Depends on the angle looking at it, but of course, yes. I mean, we know that the data they currently, or the insight, because we convert in the data, is actually bringing in competitive advantage. They have a data they never had before. They had the sales data, they have a campaign data, but they never knew where the actual product is being sold from which part of the store, which campaign works, which pricing doesn't. So from my perspective, it is definitely opportunity with certain level of uncertainty, which it is always associated with innovations, but I think it's up to us to find the right
usage. As you say, day, but it means you, dear friends, it's about you to use this opportunity, these advantages, what we can offer. So bring your ideas, how you can use these products. And we can talk about this, about your ideas during Q&A session. Right now, it's time to go to this, and so don't hesitate, ask us. Let's go to Q&A session.
See you there.
See you.
Nejsi záběru, jo? Good afternoon, dear friends, and welcome to Q&A session. As I can see, we're still waiting. Yes, we're still waiting for the very first question. So I will start, Peter, with the most frequent question about prices and price model. Could you tell us more about how, for example, Smart Shelf and Smart Scale are offered on the market?
At the moment, we're thinking about the solution as a complex. So we would love to, of course, follow the use case of the client, and based on the quantities and the contract, set up the price. Ideally, we would like to have it as a product as a service, so signed for a specific period, and we will take care of the whole maintenance and the program as such. But just to provide an indication, we know we will be somewhere in between 50 to 100 euros per device per month if you would sign that as a contract, including the hardware, including the software IoT platform. And again, where would you be in between the 50 to 100? It will depend on, let's say, the number of years of the contract, the length we sign for, 1, 2, or 3 years, and the number of devices. If we're talking hundreds or thousands, again, depending on a scale of the project.
Thank you. So I will continue in this type of question because you mentioned that this price is for hardware and software together. What about if your client will love to have just a hardware or hardware with connectivity? Is it possible in your case?
I think that was the case why we started the joint venture as well, to be flexible and being able to respond to specific needs of the client. So ideally, we would like to provide the whole solution, because we believe the power comes with the data that comes out of it. But if the client would like to have just the hardware and some API to connect to their existing network, or aside supporting integration into the data platforms that are existing and being used, that's possible as well.
Perfect. What are some technical questions? Can you create, Pavel, question, and you can answer this question about, of course, what was the most challenging thing in this project?
So as mentioned previously, one of the most time-consuming part of the actual software development was, there are two things. The development of this S-wire protocol that is able to scan the whole bus, transfer data, because there was development on both the hardware level and this library that was incorporated on multiple sites, like this Chester, also these provisioning kiosks, the tester machines, also for the encoders. And so this was like quite some effort to develop this communication libraries and test it properly so it will be robust enough in the field. And the second challenging part was certainly this provisioning process. So we had to connect like all these mentioned thousands of positions to be scanned with the database, and you cannot, it's easy to do it manually on a few samples, but if you are doing like hundreds of these units, then you have to do it properly through some automated system. So these two things.
Mm-hmm. I usually receive a lot of questions about battery lifetime. I don't know if he even talked about it here or not.
Oh, but yes, you can answer this beautiful question about battery lifetime.
Stepping in, putting the questions to myself. No, I mean, it was one of the questions we had from the beginning. We want the devices to last in years. Again, it depends on, let's say, the frequency of data and the amount of data we want to be sending. But within, let's say, the current setup as we have, we are guaranteeing 3 years battery lifetime, which from my perspective, again, considering the non-invasiveness of the solution and the ability to set it into retail environment for 3 years to be there, which is kind of the length of the contract. We thinking about 2 to 3 years ideally. Then from my perspective, we are trying to align with the contract length with the battery lifetime.
It was especially challenging in this smart scale project because, as we know, the antennas are basically very close to the goods, and the goods might be some metals or a lot of water or of something. So it impacts the antennas, and therefore in NB-IoT you have this big variation of power consumption if the antenna gets distuned. So we have solved this by these battery packs, which provides 50 amp hours. So we can guarantee over 3 years of battery lifetime, even in the worst signal conditions. So it was like another nice technical challenge we are facing.
That's great. So we have first questions from the audience. The first one from Peter Klokochnik. How long takes to prepare data for this smart system? How long takes to prepare data for this smart system? So if I understood correctly, maybe Peter is asking about the length of the project or processing of data.
I mean, the data, like here, we're sending every hour, right? Measuring every minute. So in a way, we have the data the first day when they come in. The question mark is if the existing reporting platform or the way we display through Power BI or something would be relevant for the client, or if they would like to dress it up and white label according to their needs, which will of course require some time. But the data as such are coming immediately as soon as we plug it into the retail environment. So if I understood correctly.
Maybe this question is more about the analysis, because to understand this data package, it's quite important, and it needs some expertise, and I believe that Adastra has this expertise, and you can.
I think it really depends on the use case as well, like what you're trying to get out of it. Like if we're talking about a campaign, measuring success of the campaign, of course would want to measure it for weeks to get the proper data, what's really happening in the retail environment. And the more devices you have, the more various, I would say, retail formats you include or different campaigns, I would say richer data you get and the better income you'll get out of it, like the insight from the data. So yeah, of course, some analysis is needed, of course, but again, on this, for example, we're collaborating with the client. They have their teams, they know what they want to get out of it, so we're just tailoring the way we display the data so they get out of it exactly what they need from the analyst perspective.
We have a question from Guilherme. The most important question is, in this project is from where in the shelf the product is picked up. There is a question mark. So the position on shelf, no matter the quantity to the products.
Yes, I
Maybe
mean,
you can, because it's more because you were explaining these metrics. So basically, we are targeting this position of this product.
Yes.
Not the quantity, not the weight or nothing like this. It's just the state of this switch, right?
We can only determine whether the goods is there on a specific position or not. We were also considering to measure the weight in the future or the force, so we would be able to recognize that, but this is just some rough idea, not yet applied to the field. Yeah, so I'm not sure if this answered the question.
I mean, the answer is that yes, we are able to determine the position of the goods.
We were testing
the specific spot, right?
We were testing two scenarios. One, when we were putting the products exactly on the spots where the sensors are, but also we were testing when we were just randomly throwing them on the shelf. Of course, the smaller amount of units and randomly put in, the difference might be slightly higher, but we were still measuring like individual pieces of products difference to the reality which was on a shelf. And the higher amount of let's say, the products on the shelf to almost the full capacity, the lower the difference could be from the reality. But again, as I said, still the accuracy was close to like 95%, which to me was, and to the client was absolutely acceptable.
But to be honest, we have to confess that it was tailored for this specific product, for these bottles. So
yes, I mean, we were testing that this solution that currently is in the market was able to 100% switch in somewhere between 150 milliliters to 200 milliliters, and we were aiming for 300 milliliters plus bottles. So in a way, we knew that it's going to switch on 100% if you just put it on a sensor. I don't know if that.
Yeah, I think that we answered the question. So, what a lovely webinar it was, Peter, and it was a great topic, right? IoT in retail.
And hopefully it will just grow, yeah?
Yeah, it
the
will
number
grow.
of
Definitely,
possibilities are endless.
With a partner like Adastra, we hope that we will spread these technologies around the world. We are equipped with nice hardware, perfect service, including software and analysis.
I think we need to stay humble in a way, but yeah, I agree. I mean, the solutions have definitely a great potential. I think it's about finding the use cases which can really help and deliver added value on the market, which is what we're trying to do at this point.
Maybe you will find these opportunities and these use cases, and please don't hesitate to join our partners network. We got very interesting partners, and I believe that you can be one of them. We will support you. We will support you with the hardware, with our know-how in the field of IoT. Peter, thank you again for joining us. Pavel, for your technical support.
Thank you.
And you for watching us. And we will have a short break during the summer holiday, but we will be back in September. So thank you so much, and enjoy your holiday. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.